Hey all, welcome back to MysteryStock. Every year, people go missing without a trace for reasons like relationship breakdown, financial difficulties, or even mental health troubles. Oftentimes, too, it's foul play. Take a look at some of the older cases we have found. Joseph Force Crater was a New York State Supreme Court justice who went missing amid a political scandal. In the summer of 1930, after the start of the first investigations of what would become the Seabury Commission, Crater and his wife Stella Mance Wheeler were vacationing at their summer cabin in Maine. In late July, Crater received a phone call. He offered no information to his wife about the content of the call other than to say that he had to return to New York to straighten those fellows out. The next day, he arrived at his 45th Avenue apartment, but instead of dealing with business, he proceeded onward to Atlantic City, New Jersey, with his mistress, showgirl Sally Lou Ritzie, who goes by the show name Ritzie. Crater returned to Maine on August the 1st and traveled back to New York on August the 3rd. Before making this final trip, he promised his wife that he would return by her birthday on August 9th. Crater's wife stated that he was in good spirits and behaving normally when he departed for the city. On the morning of Wednesday, August 6th, Crater spent 2 hours going through his files in his chambers, reportedly destroying several documents. He then had his law clerk Joseph Mara cash 2 checks for him that amounted to $5,150, which is equivalent to about $79,784 today. At noon, he and Mara carried 2 locked briefcases to his apartment and he let Mara take the rest of the day off. Later that evening, Crater went to a ticket agency and bought 1 seat for a comedy called Dancing Partner at the Belasco Theater. He then went to Billy Haas's Chop House at 332 West 45th Street, where he ate dinner with Ritzie and William Klein, a lawyer friend. Klein later told investigators that Crater was in a good mood that evening and gave no indication that anything was bothering him. Crater's dinner companions gave differing accounts of Crater's departure from the restaurant. Klein initially testified that the judge got into a taxicab outside the restaurant about 9:30 p.m. and drove west on 45th Street, and this account was initially confirmed by Ritzie, but she later changed their story and said that they had entered a taxi outside the restaurant while Crater had walked down the street. There was no immediate reaction to Crater's disappearance. When he did not return to Maine after 10 days, his wife began making calls to their friends in New York, asking if anyone had seen him. Only when Crater failed to appear for the opening of the courts on August 25th did his fellow justices become alarmed. They started a private search but failed to find any trace of him. The police were finally notified on September 3rd, and after that the missing judge was front-page news. Once an official investigation was launched, the case received widespread publicity. Detectives discovered that the judge's safe deposit box had been emptied and the 2 briefcases that Crater and Mara had taken to his apartment were missing. These promising leads were quickly lost amid the thousands of false reports from people claiming to have seen the missing man. On August 19, 2005, authorities revealed that after her death at age 91, they had received notes that had been written by New York resident Stella Ferrucci Good, in which she claimed that her husband, NYPD Detective Robert Good, had learned that Crater was killed by Charles Burns, an NYPD officer. According to the letter, Crater was buried near West 8th Street in Coney Island, Brooklyn, at the current site of the New York Aquarium. Police reported that no records had been found to indicate that skeletal remains had been discovered at that site when it was excavated in the 1950s. Now this one really left us with pause. How does a New York judge go missing? Let us know what you think. If you love the mysterious as much as we do, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because we'll bring you new videos 3+ times every single week. Thank you. Patricia Spencer and Pamela Hobley were 2 American teenagers who went missing on Halloween, Friday, October 31, 1969. Hobley told her mother and 3 sisters that she planned to return home after attending her high school's homecoming football game and a Halloween party. When she was absent after her family returned from trick-or-treating, her fiancé informed her mother that she had not arrived at the party. Hobley's mother then called other parents and learned that Spencer never arrived at the party either. Eventually, their absence became a missing person investigation and police requested information from the community for assistance in discovering their whereabouts. For the first week of the investigation, it was speculated that they were runaways with the intent to travel to Michigan. Both girls were reportedly close to their families and did not bring their purses, identification, or extra clothing when they left, indicating that they did not disappear voluntarily. Initial reports stated the girls were last seen walking together away from Muscota High School. However, a witness later stated that he picked them up as they were walking along River Road and dropped them off downtown. Investigators suspect that the girls continued hitchhiking and were abducted by 2 or more assailants and eventually murdered, though very few leads were ever uncovered, leading to a cold case. In 1985, police were told that the 2 were murdered by 2 area men and buried near a barn, noted to be a popular location for teenage parties. Decades later, the local chief of police directed an investigation of this suggestion and a search of the area, with aid of cadaver dogs, which turned up no detectable evidence that human remains were at the scene. As they neglected to carry any form of identification, physical data such as dental records and DNA would be needed to identify their bodies, if they were to be found. In 2013, police released a statement indicating they had a person of interest in the case, but they still needed additional information for the investigation to continue. And now, was Anne-Marie Burr Ted Bundy's first victim? The kidnapping of 8-year-old Anne-Marie Burr was a national fixation back in 1961. Below the radar of suspicion was 14-year-old paperboy Ted Bundy, the kid from the next block. Ever since Bundy died in Florida's electric chair, detectives, writers, and armchair sleuths have debated his involvement in the Anne-Marie Burr case. Her nightmare began on August 30, 1961, after the Burrs bedded down 4 children in their North Tacoma home. Around midnight, Anne-Marie brought baby sister Mary to her parents' bedroom because she was crying about the cast on her broken arm. At 5 a.m. Beverly awoke to attend her youngest child again but found Anne-Marie gone. The normally locked front door and a living room window were both wide open and no blood or signs of a struggle, just a lone sneaker print outside the window. Burr's disappearance sparked a significant manhunt, utilizing soldiers from nearby Fort Lewis, as well as members of the National Guard. Though several individuals were considered potential suspects in the years immediately following the disappearance, none led to Burr's recovery. After Bundy was apprehended in 1978, he was considered a suspect when it was revealed that when he was aged 14 in 1961, he had lived near the Burr residence, that he delivered newspapers near Burr's house, and that the Burr home was very close to one of Bundy's earlier childhood homes where his favorite great-uncle lived. Was the proximity of the future monster to the missing angel an eerie coincidence become urban legend? Or a spicy twist to a cold case? You decide. It always jars us when we learn about people going missing like this. It truly is a tragedy, and I hope the families of the victims will get closure one day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.